Playing with Power MTG. Powerful cards, powerful formats. Before we begin tonight's game, I wanted to ask a question. Do you have extra cards lying around that you don't use? Want to buy or trade for some extra cards but don't know how to maximize the value? Then you should try out today's sponsor, Card Conduit. Card Conduit is the best service when it comes to selling your extra cards. Don't waste hours trying to find the best buy list price for your cards online. Simply send them to Card Conduit and let them take care of the rest. I've used Card Conduit multiple times already. I always use them for getting the best value of my extra cards and my extra bulk. I get fair prices for my cards and they save me tons of time. They have three main services. Their standard service lets you send them unsorted cards of any value. They will sort, grade, and give you the best price for your cards, including your bulk. Their curated service is similar. Send them your unsorted cards worth over $1 in value. They will charge half of the fee of standard service and then charge no fee per card. Their new sorted service is a great value as well. Choose cards in advance with their selection tool, send them sorted to Card Conduit, and they will grade and buy list them automatically. Save yourself the time of having to send to multiple sites and let Card Conduit do it instead. Their fee is only 2% with no fee per card. So give Card Conduit a try today. If you sign up with my link in the description below or use the promo code POWER, you will also get 10% off of their fees when you use their service. A big thanks to Card Conduit for sponsoring today's video. Our Mox Masters tournament is back. On Saturday, December 3rd, we will be hosting another webcam CEDH tournament. It is 100% proxy friendly and played in the comfort of your own home. Top 16 gets $60, top 4 gets $200, and the winner gets $500. Spots fill up very quickly, so sign up now and reserve your spot. Link is in the description below. Now, let's start out by showcasing our fighters this evening. First, we have Mark piloting Ezuri, Renegade Leader. This is an elf ball deck that seeks to put out a bunch of elves, generate tons of mana, and win with big creature payoffs. Mark's opening hand contains a Copperhorn Scout, Wirewood Symbiote, Fauna Shaman, Birchlore Rangers, Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, Forest, and his London Mulligan is a Wirewood Lodge. Next, we have Ashani piloting the partner pair of Pako, Arcane Retriever, and Haldan, Avid Arcanist. This deck seeks to attack with a large dog and sling spells from other people's libraries. It wins with Seasons Past loops or Underworld Reach. This is also a more limited budget version, coming in around $500. Ashani's opening hand contains a Yavimaya Coast, Forest, Mountain, Archmage Emeritus, Fertile Ground, Sol Ring, and his London Mulligan is Karn's Temporal Sundering. After that we have Bailey, piloting the partner pair of Krark the Thumbless and Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. This deck seeks to cast both of its commanders and win through manual storm turns. Bailey's opening hand contains a Treasonous Ogre, Mox Amber, Volcanic Island, Fiery Islet, Island, and his London Mulligans are an island and a mountain. Finally, we have Mike, piloting Rocco, Cabaretti Caterer. This deck uses its commander to find combo creatures, generate infinite mana, and win with Godo Helm or Food Chain Lines. Mike's opening hand contains a Veil of Summer, Noxious Revival, Mana Crypt, Finehorn Elves, Carpet of Flowers, Windswept Heath, and a Shatterskull Smashing. Without further ado, let's kick off this hard-earned Harry-heated hangover. Mark wins the Flavortown Challenge and gets to start us off. Mark draws a card for turn and plays a Forest. He casts Birchlore Rangers. He passes. Ashani draws a card for turn and plays a Yavimaya Coast. He casts a Sol Ring. He ends this turn. Bailey draws and plays a Volcanic Island. He casts a Mox Amber. Bailey ships it to Mike. Mike draws and plays a Windswept Heath. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Savannah onto the battlefield. He casts Carpet of Flowers. He casts a Mana Crypt. He moves to a second main phase and adds 1 green through his carpet. He casts a Finehorn Elves and passes the turn. Mark draws and plays a Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx as his land for turn. He casts a Fauna Shaman. He activates Birchlore Rangers, tapping 2 elves, adding a green. He casts Copperhorn Scout. Mark passes to Ashani. Ashani draws and plays a Forest. He casts Fertile Ground on his Yavimaya Coast. He casts his commander, Haldan, Avid Arcanist. Ashani ends his turn. Bailey draws and plays a Mountain. He casts his commander, Krark the Thumbless. Bailey passes the turn. During his upkeep, Mike loses his Mana Crypt roll and takes 3 damage. He draws, and in his first main phase, he adds 1 green through his carpet. He plays Shatterskull to hammer pass into play untapped, paying 3 life. He casts his commander, Rocco, Cabaretti Caterer, where X equals 3. It enters, and Mike fetches up a Dockside Extortionist onto the battlefield. Dockside enters, and Mike creates 3 treasures. All through, Mike passes. Mark draws and starts off his turn by casting Summoner's Pact. He fetches up an Allosaur Shepherd into his hand. He plays a Forest for turn. He casts Allosaur Shepherd. He activates Fauna Shaman, discarding Wirewood Symbiote, and fetches up a Quirion Ranger into his hand. He activates Birchlore, adding a green. He casts Quirion Ranger. He moves to combat and attacks Mike with Copperhorn Scout. Copperhorn triggers and Mark untaps his creatures. Then Mike blocks with Dockside and Copperhorn dies. In his second main phase, Mark activates Birchlore twice, tapping 4 elves, adding 2 green. He activates Nykthos, adding 4 more green. He casts his commander, Ezuri, Renegade Leader. He activates Quirion Ranger, bouncing a Forest to his hand, untapping his Fauna Shaman. Mark ends his turn. Ashani draws and plays a Mountain. He casts his other commander, Pako, Arcane Retriever. He moves to combat and attacks Bailey with Pako. Pako triggers and Ashani exiles an island, Bailey exiles a Rite of Flame, Mike exiles a food chain, and Mark exiles Natural Order. Then Pako gets 4 +1/+1 counters. Then Bailey takes 7, and in his second main phase, Ashani casts Rite of Flame from exile through Haldan, adding 2 red. He casts Simic Signet. Ashani ends his turn. Bailey draws and plays a Fiery Islet. He casts a Mana Vault. He casts his other commander, Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. It enters as a copy of Krark. Bailey ships the turn to Mike. During his upkeep, Mike loses his Mana Crypt roll and takes 3 damage. He draws, and in his first main phase, he has 1 green through his carpet. He casts Temur Sabertooth. This is game over for the table because there are just barely enough artifacts and enchantments to go infinite with Dockside. So in response, Mark channels Boseiju, who endures, targeting Ashani's Sol Ring. Sol Ring is destroyed, and Ashani fetches up an island onto the battlefield. Then Temur Sabertooth resolves. Mike activates Temur Sabertooth, bouncing Dockside to his hand. He recasts Dockside. It enters, and Mike creates 4 treasures. He casts an Avacyn's Pilgrim, and regretfully, passes to Mark. During his upkeep, Mark activates Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, adding 6 green to pay for Summoner's Pact. He draws and plays a forest. He activates Birchlore, adding a green. He activates Quirion Ranger, bouncing a forest to untap Birchlore. He activates Birchlore, adding another green. He casts Finale of Devastation, where X equals 1. He returns Wirewood Symbiote from his graveyard to the battlefield. He activates Wirewood Symbiote, bouncing Allosaur Shepherd, untapping his Fauna Shaman. Finished up, Mark passes. Ashani draws and moves to combat. He attacks Mark with Pako. Pako triggers, and Ashani exiles Salvage, Bailey exiles Solve the Equation, Mike exiles Path to Exile, and Mark exiles Skullclamp. Then Pako gets 4 +1/+1 counters. Then Mark takes 11, and in his second main phase, Ashani plays a Crystal Vein. He casts Archmage Emeritus. He casts Beast Within, targeting Sakashima. Archmage triggers, and Ashani draws. Sakashima is destroyed, and Bailey creates a 3/3 Beast. With nothing else, Ashani passes. During his draw step, Bailey takes a damage from his Mana Vault. He plays a Scalding Tarn for turn. Bailey passes. At the end of Bailey's turn, Ashani casts Path to Exile from exile through Haldan, targeting Mike's Temur Sabertooth. Archmage Emeritus triggers, and Ashani draws. In response, Mike activates Temur Sabertooth, bouncing Rocco back to his hand. Then Sabertooth is exiled, and Mike fetches up a forest onto the battlefield tapped. The turn moves to Mike. During his upkeep, Mike wins his Mana Crypt roll. He draws, and in his first main phase, he has 1 green through his carpet. He plays a Taiga for turn. He casts his commander, Rocco, where X equals 4. In response, Mark activates Quirion Ranger, bouncing a forest, untapping his Birchlore Rangers. He activates Birchlore, adding a green. He activates Wirewood Symbiote, bouncing Birchlore, untapping his Fauna Shaman. He activates Fauna Shaman, discarding Birchlore Rangers, and fetching up an Elvish Spirit Guide into his hand. With Rocco still in the stack, Bailey cracks his Scalding Tarn, pays a life, and fetches up an island onto the battlefield. He then sacrifices his Fiery Islet to draw a card, hoping to find an answer. He does not find anything, and with everyone else out of answers, Rocco resolves. Rocco enters, and Mike fetches up an Emil the Blessed onto the battlefield. He pays 3 to activate Emil, flickering his Dockside Extortionist. Extortionist enters, and Mike creates 4 treasures. Mike presents a loop of flickering Dockside with Emil, netting infinite treasures. He activates Emil, targeting Rocco. Rocco exiles, but Mike chooses to put it back into the command zone instead of exile. Mike can now repeatedly cast Rocco, fetching up every creature from his library onto the battlefield. Mike casts Rocco again. He fetches up Godo Bandit Warlord onto the battlefield. Godo enters, and Mike fetches up Helm of the Host onto the battlefield. He equips Helm of the Host to Godo. Mike moves to combat, triggering Godo, creating a copy, and getting infinite combats. He attacks the table over and over until they are dead, and Mike wins the game. Well, since that one was so quick, let's do another one. First, we have Mike piloting the partner pair of Chief Jim Hopper and 11 the Mage. This deck operates in a similar way to Blue Farm, but it also runs a Time Sieve combo. Mike's opening hand contains a Polluted Delta, Ragavan Nimble Pilferer, Lotus Petal, Vampiric Tutor, Time Twister, Brain Freeze, and an Underworld Breach. Next, we have Philip piloting Abdel Adrian, Gorian's Ward, with Candlekeep Sage as the background. This is an Azorius control list looking to win through Displacer Kitten Lines and Laboratory Maniac. Philip's opening hand contains an Exotic Orchard, Delay, Flooded Strand, Eldrazi Displacer, Jace Wielder of Mysteries, Mystic Remora, and an Archivist of Ogma. After that, we have Ashani piloting Corvold, Fake-Cursed King. This is a turbo ad nauseum list looking to abuse Dockside Extortionist with its commander as a draw engine. Ashani's opening hand contains an Autumn's Veil, Boseiju Who Endures, Mana Crypt, Ad Nauseam, Necropotence, Badlands, and a Dockside Extortionist. Finally, we have Kevin piloting Selvala, Heart of the Wilds. This deck seeks to add a ton of mana through its commander, draw a lot of cards, and win with big mana payoffs. This version is a more budget version of this deck. Kevin's opening hand contains a City of Solitude, Birds of Paradise, Elvish Mystic, 2 Forests, Finehorn Elves, and a Lupine Prototype. And Mike gets to start us off. Mike draws and plays a Polluted Delta. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Badlands onto the battlefield. He casts Ragavan, Nimble Pilferer. He casts a Lotus Petal. Mike passes. Philip draws and plays a Flooded Strand. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Tundra onto the battlefield. He casts Mystic Remora. In response, Mike casts Vampiric Tutor. He fetches up a card onto the top of his library and loses 2 life. Remora resolves and Philip passes to Ashani. Ashani draws and plays a Badlands. He casts a Mana Crypt. Ashani ends his turn. Kevin draws and plays a Forest. He casts an Elvish Mystic. Kevin ships the turn to Mike. Mike draws and moves to combat. He attacks Philip with Ragavan. Philip takes it and Ragavan triggers. Philip exiles Chrome Mox and Mike creates a treasure. In his second main phase, Mike casts Underworld Breach. Remora triggers and Philip draws. Unfortunately, no one has a response and Breach resolves. Mike casts Lion's Eye Diamond. He cracks it, discards his hand, and adds 3 blue. He escapes Brain Freeze from his graveyard with all copies targeting himself. Remora triggers and Philip draws. In response, in a desperate attempt to find an answer, Ashani casts Cabal Ritual to draw Philip into any possible interaction. Remora triggers and Philip draws. Unfortunately, Philip couldn't find an answer, Ashani adds 3 black, and then Brain Freeze resolves. Mike escapes LED and Philip draws from Remora. He cracks it for 3 blue. He escapes Brain Freeze and Philip draws from Remora again. Mike mills more of his library. Mike presents a loop of casting Brain Freeze over and over until he mills his entire library. He escapes Thassa's Oracle. Oracle enters, triggers, and Mike wins the game. Ladies and gentlemen, what a cool set of games tonight. Congrats to Mike on both of his wins. In Game 1, Rocco was proving over and over what a powerful, flexible, and versatile commander it can be. Having a creature tutor in the command zone allows you to pivot and adapt at all points in the game. If you need protection, a combo piece, or just a draw engine, Rocco can provide all of that automatically. It's a powerful commander that showed its strength tonight. In Game 2, Mike had an amazing opener and was able to barely squeak out a win. Winning on turn 2 with Underworld Breach is very difficult to pull off. Mike was able to sequence his plays correctly and closed out the game. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more like this, be sure to subscribe. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode. Tune in next time when we duke it out to see who will be king of the competitive EDH table. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.